Hello and namaskar. Welcome
Namaskar.
to yet another Sunday evening show. Shitala's conversation is a rendezvous for all of us to connect together across the globe and then transport ourselves to the ancient, medieval, and bygone centuries through wonderful anecdotes, through amazing, astonishing stories, and through first hand encounters of the people who visit here as as speakers and who author these shows. By concept, Sheetalnath conversation, thematically speaking, is a kind of a travel back in time into our civilizational shades, its contours and colors, into the sleepy towns, into the wonderful what do you call it hamlets, into localities, into the streets, into the rivers, water bodies, flora and fauna, people, hustle and bustle, colors, literature, art, architecture, and whatnot. It meanders like a serene river, and all of us who are the seekers of the roots certainly feel like just quenching their thirst to visit their past. I'm seeing an overwhelming response from our diaspora across the globe and all kind of people who doesn't belong to this community or doesn't belong to our area. They also responding very well. I'm really grateful to all of you for being the very inseparable constituent of this wonderful rendezvous, evening rendezvous on Sunday. And with that, saying that, having said that, I would like to say that time immemorially, Kashmir, cradle of Indian civilization, the cradle of Vedic civilization, has remained uh, a land, a pious land for many visitors across the globe. But in our land, we have had the wonderful people, great brains, great geniuses from the time of, you can say, Kumarajivi, from the time of Nagarjuna, from the time of Vasu Gupta, Abhinav Gupta, Shambhunatha, Utpal Deva, and Kalhana, Balbana, Mamatacharya, I mean, Laleshwari, Rasul Mir, Mata Rupa Bhavani, Arnimal, Haba Khatun. I mean, we have a long list of people, the brilliant people, the poets, literatures, who have taken birth on this pious land. Coming to the last century, the bygone century, 20th century, we can see the best possible brilliant modern minds they have into their basis, into their origination, this whole inheritance of this wonderful wealth and wonderful genetic with them. That's why we can find the best possible scientists, best possible engineers, doctors, and whatnot, especially in the field of literature, art, musicology. We have the very brilliant people and brilliant minds. Their art, their work is incomparable. They are independent thoughts in themselves. Looking to few people around, I would like to say we have two people, Dinanath Nadim, the era poet, and Gulam Rasul Santosh, Padamshri Gulam Rasul Santosh, the great artist and polymath, who are way ahead of all the artists, although it is not good to compare the art, but who are very much ahead into the field of art and literature as far as the modernity, creativity, insightful creativity, which comes from within, that comes in. They are the tallest landmarks and the beacons from our land who have shined into the world. Their literature, their art is universal. You know, as per the story of all people, all the people, the great people, they have struggled in the beginning. You can see Van Gogh never got his fortunes and fame before he died, and now you can see Vincent Van Gogh's paintings. They are being sold for 35 millions. And similarly, we had many people like Guru Dutt was there. He was not. treated as he was a master of shadows and light, but he was not treated as a genius in his own times. And we have Ritu Ghatak, and list is endless. But then again, what can be said? Finally, I feel that Ghalib's this couplet is very suited to them. यारब अब वो न समझे हैं, यारब वो न समझे हैं न समझेंगे मेरी बात, यारब वो न समझे हैं न समझेंगे मेरी बात, दे और दिल उनको जो न दे मुझको जुबां और, है और भी दुनिया में सुखनवर बहुत अच्छे, कहते हैं कि गालिब का है अंदाजे बयां हो. Even Ghalib suffered because he was not the court poet, and he became a celebrity only in 50s of his age. Today we are going to talk about one of the great geniuses of our times, and one of the legendary personality, the exponent, the stoutest exponent of Tantra art, Neo Tantra art, Padamshri Gulam Rasul Santosh ji. And his paintings and his art has been celebrated across the globe. It has been displayed in the galleries across the globe. He is one of the rarest of the rare genius, a polymath. People like him are born once in a century, and we are very proud of him as our native. His paintings and his colors, his not only his paintings, his literature, his poetry. His costume designing, his plays, they are marvelous in their own style. Probably he had some divine blessings, or in Orient we say that it was from the previous births that he was so elevated to produce and create such a wonder in this, especially in the field of art. Giving a brief peep into his life, I can say that in the times, in the times of Dogras were the great institution builders. They built great educational institutions, and they built the institutions of the law, and they built many. They built canals and everything around. And in those times, they created one wonderful institute that was Amar Singh Technical Institute, and there are lot many alumni of Amar Singh Technical Institute who became great painters and great artists in those times. Gulam Rasul Santosh's initial exposition was probably from his drawing teacher, who was also an exponent of the Amar Singh Institute of Technical Institute, and it was Shivnath Rana ji who understood and recognized his talent. And later he learned from Dinanath Wali Sahib, learned this water paint and other things. And finally, the Somnath Bhatt Sahib came into his life, who was also the founder member of Progressive Artist Association. So he taught him many things about the cubism and abstractism, which he had learned from the Raza's visit to Srinagar, Kashmir. And from that day onwards, when he was spotted in this Progressive Artist Association, everything changed in his life, and he got a scholarship to went to Baroda. And Baroda, he had a privilege to work under the tutelage of P.N. Bendre Saab, N.S. Bendre Saab. N.S. Bendre Saab was one of the greatest, supreme, landscape artist with the cubic and other expressionists and other inputs in it. He was also one of the greatest teachers the country has produced, especially in the form of art. Gulam Rasul Santosh always treated him as his guru. He bowed before him because he taught him many things, from cubism to abstractism to portrait to making the portraiture and all that. When he came back home, and he worked for this entire, applied all his knowledge into this making of all these portraits and the landscape of Kashmir, life of Kashmir. And then one fine morning, and he made the portraits of the great kings from Jaipur, Jodhpur, and even Karan Singh's families. He made a portrait of Dinanath Nadim and Trilokinath Kaul, and self-portraits also. He was a very prolific painter, and he has numerous types of paintings and all that. But one fine morning, something happened at the Shila of Amarnath Cave, and some insight from within, awoke, and it was the call of the Shiva that everything changed in him. He stopped working for a while, and he started researching in the Sanskrit and the Sharda language, and trying to find out the scriptures and their essence and meaning. All clogging, which is connected with the birth of a person, that was removed, and he was given an insight into eternity, the wisdom, And from there onwards, he met the great personalities like one of the tallest scholars of the present times, Lokinath Ganjusa, historian and scholar, under whose guidance he understood this Kashmir Shaivism. And then he went to the Lakshmanju also, the last Acharya of Abhinav Gupta Parampara, and he learned a lot many things about Kashmir Shaivism, be it Sampadan Kriya, be it the elements, be it the Pratibhijagya theory, the reflection theory. I mean, all these things came in, and he had a place, a very very special place where he used to go, stay there for nights together and work, especially on that and the Sri Tantra, which was self manifested on the rock and Sharika Devi in the, at the Chakreshwari Mata's temple. And then he found so many signs and so many elaborations. So that can be talked about in this talk. I mean, it will come down in this talk gradually. We'll talk about all these aspects. So he was a wonderful man. I can. It is very. Wrong to call him as only artist. He was a polymath. He was a Renaissance man, an amazing, wondrous polymath, an amazing voyager, a brilliant man, a playwright, a poet, a songwriter, a novelist, a broadcaster. So, talking about such a great personality, I mean, we need to very much great insights about his work and art. He was one of the tallest figures of the neo tantric art across the world. His galleries and reputation. I mean, it was glittered. It was glittered. It was splendorous, and it was respected and revered and loved by everyone around. Today, we have in our studio his progeny, his nearest progeny, and his son, flesh and blood son, Shabir Santoshji, to talk about his time, his life, and his work, art, and literature. It's a great privilege to have him with us, and I think this show will be quite enlightening and very understandable and very very informative for all of us to visit. So let's stand, let's rise to welcome this great. He himself is a great artist, a very very celebrated artist, professional artist. His art sells in quite a good amount of money and price, and he is equally a very ardent photographer. He is also a visiting faculty, and he's a wonderful human being. It will be very nice, I think, to have an audience with him directly. So let's welcome Shabir Santoshji in the studio. Shabirji, you are
Namaskar.
welcome into the
Namaskar.
35th Shitalath Conversation show.
Thank you
Namaskar.
for having me in this conversation, Chitalnath conversation. Namaskar and adab to everyone.
Thank you, Shabirji. Shabirji, I would like to say that, if we begin, we see that, Santosh Saab was one of the tallest pillar, tallest buyer, greatest exponent of Neo Tantra art of the world. And neo-tantrism, in West, because there was a hollowness of machine and materialism, so neo-tantra art naturally flew in. I mean, it meandered in, and it was a kind of a requirement for their thirsty bandwagon of the art, which was drying up. And in a way, here also the figurative art had become very redundant, and then American abstractism was also going very stale and monotonous. It is then this great gentleman, our native, the great your father, Santosh Saab, came in, and he invented this neo-tantric art. And although this art was already applied into our sciences, ancient sciences, Vedic sciences, these geometries are already there. These all figurative circles. All the things are already there. The quadrants, triangles, they're already there. They have remained only to the limits of the spirituality and spiritual dimension. Anyway, it was an expression for this esoteric engagement and esoteric experiences. Like the Purans were the story, it was a narrative expression of the esoteric expressions. Same way, this tantric vidya was the symbolic expression of this esoteric stories and understanding and abstractism. So I would like to say that as a son, you are also a great artist. how did you witness this in this ideal neo-tantric art in your father, one, and how did you feel it in comparison with his contemporaries like Raza Sahab, like Bindre Sahab, like Panikar Sahab, and many Mukherjee and many other contemporary in India and others? Please elucidate.
See, he was the person who brought this iconographic imagery into modern art, my father. So, and when he came into Tantra, which you have already said, when he went to Amarnath in 1960, a lot of people say that he went to Amarnath in 1964, but no, he went there in 1960.
Oh,
Because I was born in 1962, and so he couldn't have, I was just 2 years old when supposedly, if he had gone in 64, he wouldn't have gone, left me and my mother. But I think it was 1960. So there's something, he had a lot of experiences there, and it evoked his consciousness, basically. And,
okay.
what when you say that what he actually felt was that what is his actual, where is he from? What is his actual being? What are his roots? So from there he got that, you can say a kind of initiation, and came back, and he stopped painting, for 2 years,
Oh,
almost 2 years. He was doing a lot of research. He read a lot of books on Tantra and in about Kashmir Shaivism, because he had already he known, because he was from Kashmir, so he was aware of all these things. So uh, when I saw this, when I was in school at that time, and uh, I remember, I think it was early 70s, when um he was already doing early tantric period. It was mostly Purush and Prakriti, so
okay.
based works. And one day he drew a canvas which was purely like a linga form, and he painted in the colors of yellows and reds and orange. And it was a small painting. And that day he had a nose bleeding, when his blood pressure went high. He had a nose bleeding. I was small in
Oh,
school,
oh,
so, and he was so it was kind of a, you can say, like when you go into the realms of unknown, so you have to, pay some price. So that was the beginning. I've seen that. I was very young, and basically his work compared to other painters of his times, his contemporary painters,
hmm,
you see, he was into yogic and meditative practices from the very beginning. And
okay.
so it showed in his work, the kind of depth he had achieved. And other painters like Raza and Sohan Kadri or Berende or Haridasan, so they were not practicing meditation or yoga.
Hmm.
So, and he used to tell me, when he used to be in meditation, he used to have visions, various kinds of visions. And he used to it was only 10% or 15% he used to be able to paint, and rest of it he used to write.
Oh,
So, you can say that, it was because of this yoga and meditation he was able to achieve that, uh, what can you say, a kind of, higher consciousness into his work.
okay. So that he catapulted and that he brought down to the to his work and his learning about the understanding of the art of geometrics of
Well,
tantra.
if you talk about the visual aspect of it, so if you
Yeah,
if you see other people's works like Berendes or Sohan Kadri, to
Sohan
some
Kadri, yes.
extent, to some level, you can feel that there's a spiritual aspect to it. But then, you know uh, the work of art should elevate. It should elevate you. It should
Yes.
elevate the viewer. That was what my father had achieved because of his luminosity in colors, the kind of vibrations he used to achieve in colors, which was
That was
taught
a
by,
rare, that was a rare thing. Rare thing.
yes,
I mean, getting
he knew,
vibrations, colors, yeah,
yes, he knew how to overlap colors,
overlap colors.
yes, and that was taught by Bendre Saab to him in Baroda.
And
So
I have heard about.
so that was the training he got, and especially then watching the nature of Kashmir and watching the light. It's I am myself a photographer, so I watch that light when I go to Kashmir. The light keeps changing. The same spot, if you sit on a anywhere from morning till evening, the light is changing 100 times. And the
Yes.
colors, same spot, the colors keep changing. So that he got into his work, and after when he started doing tantra, so it helped him, because nature is the best teacher. It can teach you colors, it can teach you light, it can teach you everything, mystery, everything. Like if you go to Ladakh, the landscape is totally different,
Different. Yeah. It's a desert, highland desert, and color.
but it's very mysterious. So that quality he brought into his work.
Okay. So, I think somewhere down the line, it was a kind of his whole work, his expertise, his learning all over in the Baroda as well as it was supported by a kind of a, spiritual thrust, spiritual origin, spiritual center. Something intuitive was coming into him. And he
Yes, you
was,
see, like they say, we turn to our motherland to find the earth.
yeah,
So
that's true.
his visiting Kashmir. He used to visit Kashmir about 3-4 times a year. It was
Okay.
only to get that inspiration. Like he used to get charged when he used to go there. He used to get charged, and come back and paint and write.
Okay.
So Kashmir was the inspiration.
Oh, that's great. He was a native. Certainly, you are born. We have this. I mean, the theory of roots. I mean, I mean, now it is being said that your connection to the roots is ultimately surmounts to your intelligence, your insights, and everything sharpens up. You are connected to your roots. So that is somewhere biologically, also scientifically, also true. And I would like to say that we his galleries, I mean, were thronged by the people, the connoisseurs, the art critics, and the art lovers all over the globe. He had started it much earlier, probably when he was doing landscape painting. We'll come to that a bit later. But I would like to say he used to go to a very particular spot at Chakreshwari Mata Sharika's that abode on Hari Parva, and he used to observe that self manifested yantra, Sri Yantra, and
Mhm.
then he used to observe and apply light and many things to it, and he used to observe the entire hill. It is he was founded the many signs of our ancient Vedic, or you can say mythological, which are described in the mythological text. Their signatures and signs he has seen into the rocks around, and that's a place he used to meditate also. Tell us something about that also, that since he was meditating, who was his guru?
See, when after coming back from this Amarnath Yatra, so like I told you, he was initially he just concentrated on this Tantra and Shaivism, because he wanted to know more about it. Then he went to, must have gone to Lakshmanju ashram, which people have told me, and he came to know about this hill, Hari Parbat hill, and
Hari
there's a
Parvat,
Shri, yes,
Chakreshwar.
Chakreshwari, and there's a Shri Yantra there. So he went there, and what he saw was at that time it was very raw, Sindoor nahi tha us pe, it was raw, it was the actual rock.
There was no
So he could
vermilion,
see
no,
that
not applied time.
yeah, it was not
Vermilion was
applied, and
applied. Yeah. Okay.
so like it was not made actually religion, that thing had not happened to that
It
place,
was spiritual. It was a place of
It was,
spirituality. People used to go
so
there, have devotional
he could see
songs.
that on that rock that Sri Yantra was carved, It was not that somebody had, it was carved. And that rock is very old, because the Hariparda hill is, it's thousands of years of, it's old. It's a
Much,
volcanic thing.
much,
It's
much before.
actually volcanic. Uh, so like
Eruption,
he used to,
volcanic
yes.
eruption.
So those they are very old rocks. So then he used to go there. Like being a painter, he could see things which normal people cannot see because he could see in detail. And once I went with him, so it was not visible. That tree and was not visible in the morning light or afternoon light. So he with I think Ram Kishore ji.
And
Then there
Tushar ji
was,
was his
yes,
close associate. Yeah,
and Masood Hussain, and
Masood Hussain,
I
another
think,
painter. Great
yeah,
painter.
painter, because he used to do photography, so he had all that equipment. And so they went at night and put artificial lights from an angle, so it
Okay,
created shadows. So from that they could make out the actual Sri Yantra. Then he took a lot of photographs. They made a small film on it, about its maybe 10-15 minutes, after editing. So there he came to that it's actually Sri Yantra, which is a vertical Sri Yantra. It is the only Sri Yantra which is vertical in the world. It is there. Otherwise, we all have their horizontal flat.
horizontal or angled also.
So then he started going there because he could feel there's something is there, and he used to go around the place and look for more things. Then he was able to see a lot of things. It
Like
was not, there were many rocks. There were carvings there. Some rocks had a different shape. They were shaped into, like, there was a there were a group of rocks which was shaped like Ganesha.
oh, beautiful.
So he used to carry his sketchbook and draw, because all the time carrying the camera was not possible, and that time they were film cameras, so he was not able to carry many films. So he used to sketch. Being a painter, he used to sketch. So he has
He had,
sketched. I have those sketchbooks with me. So there are so many things there. They are, you can say they are codified. There are a lot of things which are codified, which are there on the rocks, but it has been covered now. You can't go around that place. So there are some numericals there. The shape of numericals is there on the rocks. So now who will see that? How they will do the research? I don't know. But he has elaborately sketched them and almost all the rocks. And there's a lot of things there. So I am planning to bring out a book on that. You see, we have hundreds of slides, we have sketches, and it's very clear on that there's many things there. It's all codified. It's like we have to, it should come out. That
I
place is
such
amazing.
a wonderful genius who went into this Shavic sciences, Shastra, did meditation, and finally he created something. And it's very unfortunate that we Kashmiris have not been able to follow up to this wonderful, inquisitive
No,
understanding. And
I'd like to add, I would
outsiders
like
come.
to,
Yes,
yes, I'd
please.
like to add, once I had gone there. So when I was coming down, so there were some foreigners who were going up, to see that place. And they are
Okay.
from Israel. And they were hidden their identity because Israelis in Kashmir is
Yeah,
little,
it's a political situation.
so, so they told us they are students of Vedic sciences and they are doing research on Sri Yantra. And they have been told that the actual Sri Yantra is in Kashmir.
That's true.
So
You
they
know,
had come there.
they have this yantra is also into their original this religion, no? This Yahudis, they
It,
have this yantra. They
you
have
see
this
the
yantra.
star. They have a star.
They have star.
We also have a star with a bindu in between.
Bindu. Bindu is something which is ultimately zero, and Bindu is given by India to the world. It is the creation of the universe.
It is actually there are two triangles, which is male and female, and bindu is it is the seed.
It's basically Prakriti and Purush. I mean, now
Yeah,
we bring
the
it to the
the
different.
union of those two triangles, the Purusha Prakriti, the seed. So it is
And then
that.
it is also nature and materialism,
Yes.
I mean, there are many similarities about it. And but this is wonderful. I mean, I see that this beautiful place, and this one of the most inspiring place. And Sri Yantra has its own what do you call it, blessings for the people of the city and for universe, because its existence is very natural, as you said.
No, he
It
was
was
doing
self.
a lot of,
It was self
yes.
manifesto.
So he was doing a lot of research, and that place. He used to say that that Kashmir, the actually he had to read Sharda Lipi also because he didn't know Sharda Lipi, so
Yeah,
he had to read because
understand
yes,
scriptures.
because a lot of texts are in Sanskrit, so he had to go through Sharda Lipi. Then he came to know after a long research that the Sharda Lipi has come from Sri Yantra.
Yeah, that is something very revealing.
See, the origin of Sharda Lipi is from Sri Yantra. There are triangles, there are everything. So he had made drawings about that also. How the Akshar Ma, the alphabet Ma came, Na
Alphabet.
came, Ka came. See the
And
two triangles,
you
which is like the Damru shaped, the Shiva's Damru, the two triangles.
know,
If you just turn it, so it can become Ka.
and Sharda was a great language in those times, and even Gurmukhi is now basically based on the Sharda. Anyway, that's for another discussion.
I
But
mean,
one thing is,
it is very old language,
it's a very ancient, very
older than
old,
Sanskrit.
and we have this whole. He was such a great explorer, understanding about this whole. Can you show some? I mean, do you have a painting with you which you can show this? Tantra, I mean, neo tantra art of one or two you can share with us if you have this time with you,
Yeah, I have a small
because our
book.
children our children our youngsters are not aware of all these things. They must know the importance of these things. These paintings cost millions in the markets, in the world market.
You see this.
Arey, wow, this is wonderful. Kindly explain it to the people. It is basically
There's
elimination elevation, I mean
so you see on the
illumination.
top there's Sahasrara Chakra on the top.
SDK, Sesardar
Yeah.
Chakra.
Yes.
It's between 10th and 11th point.
Mhm.
Oh, wonderful! That's a place where you get liberated. It is in the science. He is beautifully. His colors are wonderful. You see, shades are so serene. I can look at it.
He was a master colorist, and
Vibrant.
Kashmir has helped him a lot in terms of color.
Yeah.
And now here, see, you can see this work.
This is again the meditative posture,
Yes,
and
you can see a figure which is in Padmasan.
Padmasan and realization. There's a realization, and the same thing is applying here also. They are using this. There's a chakra above around
Yes, and
this.
you see the work elevates you. Your eye goes up. From down to up.
It is very subtle. It's not loud. It's subtle.
No,
It
it's not
touches.
loud.
That is the refinement of the elevated personalities when they do their work. Yeah, that's great. You
This
can
is
share the.
another. See,
Yeah, this
this
webs. Yeah, yeah, this is.
this one. Oh, yes.
Yeah, this is wonderful. This is great. You can give it a bit of explanation for our viewers' sake about this pic also. This
The
paintings.
same, the Sahasrara Chakra is on the top.
SD on the top. Okay. And there is one thing, I think I have seen a sign of heart. I don't know. I don't understand that. But the heart is the entry point for anything. Anything. The heart is the parameter. Heart is the door through which all the journey can be begin. This is also known as. This is also one theory about spiritual attainment.
His works basically, in Tantra, every color has a particular meaning because
Tantra.
his work is based on chakras. He's doing chakra based work when it's Tantra painting. So in Tantra, colors have a different meaning, but
Yeah, yeah, they have different
in
connotation.
Kashmir
Even the
Shaivism,
symbols have a different meaning.
their
Symbols
meaning,
also.
but in Kashmir
Syntax.
Shaivism, colors become light, like Prakasha Vimarsha,
Prakash Vimarsh. Yeah,
So it
that
is
is.
the colors they become light. So his paintings in from 80s especially till he died, his paintings were like they were vibrating. It was like Prakash. You can call them Prakash paintings. You could feel that.
That was the level of vibration, vibratory effect it created. It could change
And
your
and
state
it
of
was
mind.
all because of his meditation. What he used to feel, he used to paint, but only about 15%. That's what he told me once, that it's very difficult to paint all the vision, but it's not possible. And then he used to write, just
He was a great
translate
writer
it,
as well. I know. Before, I mean, I would like to say, let's go back and jog down to his childhood days. You must have heard about them. And we know about that. He was a wanderer. I mean, I have heard that when he used to go to school, never used to directly go to the school. He used to wander and observe these rocks and these mountains and the fields. Probably that was making of a painter in him. And also, besides that, he was also then later on, probably when it was recognized by Rana Sahab, his drawing teacher, he recognized.
Initially, actually, my grandfather was a policeman.
Okay,
So, so once he was transferred to Pulwama district for 2 years,
right,
and my father was, I think, in third standard. So he was born in Dub, actually. It's in Ganderbal district, small
Andhra.
village. So there he was studying there. Then because his father was transferred, so he went to Pulwama government school. So there the that government school, they used to teach drawing and painting there, and they had a teacher called Bhaskar Ju.
Bhaskar Ju.
And he initially got him into this painting because he was from the very beginning, from his childhood days, he was interested in drawing and painting. But my grandfather was not liking this because he was in the police, so he was thinking, no, he should, study and do some government job. So, and then Bhaskar, you saw some talent in him, and he started, guiding him. At that time, I think he was in fourth standard. He did 2 years there in Pulwama. In Pulwama, like when he, like early morning, he would go out with all his friends to school, but in between, he would just, you know,
Bunk.
deviate from them and
Deviate.
just, yeah, they would go to school directly. You would just even go into the field, take a longer route and sit somewhere, you know, under a tree, or just watch the mountains, the clouds, the, whole environment, and just
Oh,
perceive it, whatever he could, because he was a small child at that time.
it was
And come
impressionable.
back to school about 15, 20 minutes late, right? So once or twice the teacher didn't say anything, but when it started happening every day. So they called his father, and he was in the police, so he was very strict. He said, "How come you are late? You go out every day. You are going out with your friends. You are never on time. What's wrong?" Then he followed him one day. Then he
Oh,
saw that he's sitting and just watching, for 15, 20 minutes sitting there. So
observe.
from there it started, all this, his perception about nature and everything. So,
He,
but Bhaskarji used to save him all the time, because he would come for it, and save him. तो ज़्यादा डांट ना पड़े इसलिए. So
and
that
then
was the initial training,
and then he met Rana Sahab in the school, and then met Dinanath
Yeah,
Wali and
yeah,
Somnath Bhatt. Tell us something about those.
when he came back to Srinagar, when my grandfather came back to Srinagar, then he went to this government school, Khanka.
Okay.
So there he had these teachers, and I think it was, mm, second, I don't remember the names. Uh,
Somnath Bhatt or Dinanath
no,
Wali,
no, he had, there was S.N. Raina,
SM Rana.
yeah. It actually, the, you can say, even now, the actual training starts from sixth or seventh standard,
Right.
even now in schools, in drawing and painting. So it was S.N. Raina who, he developed his craft skills, initially.
Okay.
And then later on, it was, D.N. Raina, when he was in ninth and 10th,
Okay.
when he was doing his metric that time. So it was government school Khanka, he was there. And he told me once that the teacher had given a cricket ball to everybody to draw. So he kept it on the table and told everybody to draw the ball. So everybody took out the compass and they started, making round thing and doing that. But my father just picked up the pencil and straight away started drawing with free hand and started doing shading with the pencil and made it a little three-dimensional. So that, the teacher saw in him and said he's very talented, and his perception is, like it is a way of way the artists see the things, in dimension.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, that is true. I mean, these things are there. But he also, then there was a curiosity. He was himself very enthusiastic in search of his own self and his understanding of the art and painting. He went to D.N. Valli for watercolors, and then
Yes,
he
D.N.
also,
Valli was a master painter, especially in watercolors.
his paintings are beautiful. I've seen his
And
paintings.
yes, and actual, portrayal of Kashmiri life.
Yeah.
So he taught him how to use watercolors.
Okay.
So, and I like D.N. Valli's work very much.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. And then also this Somnath Bhatt Sahab came into his life, and he was the founder member of your Progressive Artists Association, and he taught him certain things, the cubic drawings and the
No, he
abstract.
was, yes, actually, he was already seeing a lot of books on cubism and
Okay, he was
expressionism.
into. Okay.
So, but he didn't know actually. He was, because he was a self-taught, so he was doing on his own. He was, because in downtown Srinagar at that time, backwaters were almost reaching the doors, of the people's houses. So he used to go to these, backwaters of Dal and sit there, make, do some watercolors or, gouache painting, like poster colors and everything. And then, and he used to sell them also, because there were a lot of tourists coming to uh, Kashmir at that time. And then tourists were like little, you can say, from, good families, rich families. So
Okay.
he was selling also. So that way, my grandfather was a little happy, and so he's able to bring money to the house. But
Okay.
but then suddenly his father passed away, and I he lost his father. So my uncle got him a job as a, ghat munshi.
Ghat
So
Munshi, that person who distributes those grains. I mean,
yes,
a
yes.
person
So he
who
used
cut.
to
Yeah.
look after the accounts. He used to see the accounts. But he did that work for some time, few months, but he couldn't do it. He was getting bored, so he left the job. So people were very angry. My grandmother was very angry. My uncle was very, बड़ी मुश्किल से
नौकरी
job.
मिली है.
So, and that too government job, you see. So, but
Government
when
job.
he started selling those watercolors to tourists, so they were little happy, that he's able to sell.
It
But
was lucrative. It was lucrative. Did he get good amounts, or just
उस time पे I don't know how much he used to get. I don't know.
because
I have no idea.
उस टाइम टूरिस्ट जो भी आता था ना, टूरिस्ट भी बड़े हाई लेवल का आता था. उस पीरियड में मिडिल क्लास लोग नहीं ट्रेवल करते थे मोस्टली.
And somebody has told me he sold a lot of works to even foreigners.
Foreigners used to come, great foreigners, great
So
people used to come. They
mostly
used to buy.
Britishers. The Britishers were a lot of traveling to Kashmir. A lot of Britishers were traveling to Kashmir.
They have that whole means system. And
And
he was a kind of a personality. He was developing gradually, visually, and then something happened, and that he joined this
no,
progressive
actually, I'll tell
artist.
you the story how it happened.
Yeah.
Because he had left the job, now he was, see, you can't sell artwork every day. So he had to do something. So he got a job as a signboard painter.
Oh,
I think it was, somewhere near this, what do you say, this chalk, I think in near Amira Kadal, there was a signboard painter's shop, so he got a job there. So a lot of trucks also used to come there to get, these landscapes painted at the back of the trucks. So one day one truck came, and he was the owner of that shop was little busy, so he told my father to make a landscape for him, at the back of the truck. So he did a landscape which was very realistic. So that driver was very happy, and even the owner of the shop was, he was really surprised. Yeah, how he can do such work. It's really, it's like a photograph.
Professional
So
photographer, and that too of a high quality. I mean,
a very high quality,
refined.
landscape he did. So that truckwala was very happy. He went away. And that truck was seen by the progressive art people. Somebody saw it. And they asked the driver, "Ki, who has made this landscape?
Okay.
You take us there." So they came to that shop and saw my father, and they told him, "You are at a wrong place. You shouldn't be here. You have to be somewhere else or something else." So it was how he got into that group. You see, he was the late, no, no, I mean, the last person to enter that group. It was my father.
Yes, understand. And then, apna, Shabir ji, what happened? Everything changed when he got a scholarship to the Baroda art, that Department of Art, and he worked under the tutelage of one of the greatest teachers and the superb, supreme landscapist, painter of par excellence, N.S. Bendre Saab. And it is under his tutelage he has learned. He probably, I think that he has learned his abstract art and the cubism and portrait art, portraiture, and other things. And then when he came back to Valley, he painted everything, the life of the Valley, and made the great portraits of kings and maharanis, even into Karan Singh's family. Tell us something about this whole journey from Bendre, his development into a very refined artist, because it must have certainly changed his. I mean, drawings and his refinity must have increased enormously there. An
See,
understanding of
when,
color.
when he joined this progressive movement, so at that time, uh, there was another progressive movement which had already started in Bombay, where
Okay.
Raza Saab and Hussain Gade and other people, they had started a progress. And similarly, there was a progressive movement in Kashmir.
Okay.
So Raza Saab came to know about this group in Kashmir, and he visited Kashmir to know about more about these artists. So there he saw my father. One day, Raza Saab took everybody to this Bund area to paint houseboats. And houseboats, the perspective is very difficult to draw. So they were making houseboats, drawing houseboats, making in watercolors and gouache. Gouache is basically, like watercolor is basically transparent. Gouache is opaque. You can mix white with, all the paints. In watercolor, you cannot use white. So they were doing works in gouache. So everybody was sitting there, all Kachru Saab, everybody was, they were doing work. So he just saw my father's work, and his perspective of houseboat was perfect, you see, and he had no training. So
No
he
art.
was
It's
surprised.
basically architecture's job to see the
Yeah.
perspective.
So he said he saw the talent, and he proposed his name for this scholarship, national scholarship to
Okay.
Baroda, And that's how he got the scholarship in 1954, and he went to Baroda to study under N.S. Bendre and refine his skills in Baroda College of Art.
Baroda College
That's
of
how
Art.
he did. And when he went there, Bendre Saab was very happy to have him and saw his work, and and he taught him more. He refined his work and taught him more about abstraction and the perspective and colors. And then one day, I think about after 1 year, he told him, Ki, Santosh, it's enough. You have done a lot of landscapes. Now you have to do some figurative work. You should start doing figures, figurative work. Because, theek hai, this landscape is fine, but you will not be a, complete painter unless you do figurative work. So then, because in Baroda, there's one thing, even the teachers and the students, the figure is very Indian, you see. They were not influenced by Western idioms, you see.
Okay.
And the Baroda, the figure is totally Indian. They were more, inspired by the temple of India and the miniatures. So that's why the figure was very Indian, and he started doing figurative work. There was live studies, everything, and that's how he came into figuration. And Bendre Saab was teaching him everything. And that time he met Trilokalji there. Trilokal was there.
Made his
Kishori
portrait
Kaul was
also.
also, yes, Kishori Kaul was also his classmate. And, so they were in a group and he learned a lot about figuratives, how to draw figure, how to, uh, break the figure in a cubistic way. So, that way. And then the portraiture, because
Portrait
Bendre Saab
also.
was a master portrait painter.
Okay.
So he taught him how to do portraits because he used to say, uh, Bendre Saab, that the person, a painter who can draw portraits and landscapes can do anything. And that is the only way how you can learn about color, you see. So he came to know about portraits. Then in 70s, he has done a lot of portraits in my father, a lot of portraits,
Dinanath
hundreds of
Nadim.
them.
Dinanath
He
Nadim
did
portrait.
Nadim's portrait in impasto style. Impasto is actually you put thick paint, and instead of a brush, you are working with a knife. There's a
Oh,
painting knife, so you work with that, and the paint is thick. And he has done portrait of Nadim Saab, then Trilokal ji, and
Maharani also. Maharani
Maharani
also.
of Maharani and Maharaj of Jaipur, Udaipur, and then many high commissioners in Delhi. Then he has done a full family portrait of Karan Singh ji, and
Karan Singh, family
and lot
portraits.
and lot of portraits of presidents of India. You see, they are still in the president's house.
They were complimentary. I mean, they were being given a prize or so.
No, no, it was all commercially done, you see.
They're
Because he
commercial.
was already a
Because he was
very,
already a very celebrated personality.
yeah, he was already a very famous painter because he got his first national award, I think, in 1958 when he
Yes,
had
yes.
just passed.
Yeah.
He had just got out from Baroda College, and he was competing with his teachers in that 1958 national exhibition.
Bendre, sir? NS Bendre
Andre
or
Saab, Almelkar Saab, and
Melkar? Yeah.
Heberji. He was competing with them, and he got a national award. So it's not a small thing, see. So at very early age, he got recognition. Then again in 1962, got another national award.
Yeah.
He has got about, I think, three national awards. Then third one he
Uh,
got was in 1971.
I mean, one thing I'm very happy about that it was recognized. His work was recognized, and it went to the people where it had to go, to destinations where it is suited to. And one thing I'd like to say, first of all, let's go back again to this Amarnath cave. Uh, as you already said, that Amarnath cave, that place became kind of a, his enlightenment started, I mean, coming out from that time, and great insights came in, and he started moving into the esoteric understanding of the world and even the civilization and understanding of Kashmir.
No,
I
he
mean,
wanted to go into his own roots, basically,
yeah.
the
So
roots of his origin. Basically, if you can say.
roots of the origin. So in that context, he learned Sharda, and then he learned Sanskrit. He read the scriptures, and he met the Professor Ganju, one of the great scholars of Shaivism and historian, and then Lakshman. You tell us a bit about, what he learned and how was the medit. And he too had a guru because he was a regular meditating personality. There's a system of meditation in Shaivism also. You must have been doing that also because he was part of the Kashmiri Shaivism. He has probably done a lecture or a video or some audio recording on Kashmiri Shaivism. So in a way, he was also a commentator on Kashmiri Shaivism. But besides that, he too had a guru. Tell
No,
us
he had
about,
a guru.
yeah,
He had a guru. His name was Balakrishna Rao.
okay,
He was actually from Maharashtra but settled in Tamil Nadu,
right,
and then he went to Kerala also to stay in Kerala because he too was learning from different sects of Tantra. So he
okay,
had a guru, and basically when you are into meditation, you are initiated into it. You cannot do it on your own. You have to have a guru because it has a way of learning. You can do it wrong also because
right.
there's a process of this how you take your breath.
It has to be taken very, very
Yeah,
ideally.
the
You cannot
breathing
do it.
technique has to be correct. So he had to have a guru. He had a guru, I think, for quite some time. So he initiated him, and he used to come to Delhi to guide him every time. And my job was to get the books of
Okay.
all places possible.
Right.
And actually, what he was saying, my father, that his canvas, they used to actually represent shunya, basically,
Mm.
and
Shunya.
the void, which is incalculable in time and dimension, you can say.
Mm.
The जिसको हम अनादि और अनंत बोलते हैं.
Ananta, eternal.
Yes. So the canvas itself is it's symbolic, and it used to portray an omnipresence of infinite and finite both.
Mm.
And he used to divide the canvas in the center, and there was symmetry in it. And he never used to sign in the front because symmetry खराब हो जाती, एक तरफ the heavy हो जाता because of the signature. So he used to sign at the back.
Oh,
So, and then the space was defined by triangles and the circles, and he used to say that
angle.
there had to, yes, he used to say that there have to be minimum three directions, or three lines, then only you can formulate a triangle. And like if you have to make a line, so you have to have 2 points. So the 2 points not only make a line, it creates direction also.
Yeah, it's a
See,
direction.
when you are traveling from one point to another, it is direction also, not only the line.
Very right. Very right. That's what's
And
being told in physics. Yeah, we learned that in
and then
physics.
the circle and the point. So what he used to tell us, I mean, when I have heard him talking, that they used to ask, "What is a point?" So I was some confused. So we have studied geometry, so I would answer in that. He said, "No, point is the contraction of circle. And what is a circle? It is the expansion of point, and that is the spandan."
That is the spandan. That is the what do you call it? Invertendo. That is the invertendo thing in this understanding this whole
So
phenomenon.
the triangle is Mool Trikona, and the force is Shabda Brahma.
Shabda Brahma.
So
Yeah.
that's how he used to, reach that. Uh, uh, his canvas used to, like, this is the way he used to start, like dividing his canvas into planes and then these triangles, and how he used to create one image. It was, I mean, it was all a meditative process, and finally, by colors, he used to create a vibrant thing, with the help of, these many layers of, colors, layer by layer, used to put them, then there was luminosity in colors, which you could feel.
Luminosity. Luminosity
No
was there
clue.
also. Bandre also created this luminosity. He taught him luminosity, or it was
Yes,
his own.
yes,
But
yes.
he used to call Bendre हमारे गुरु मिले ब्रह्म ज्ञानी. He used always
Yes,
go before him and tell him that हमारे गुरु मिले ब्रह्म ज्ञानी. Always thought that he is his master. He's taught him everything. Yeah.
taught him everything. Yes,
And what about Lakshman? I'm interested because most of his works reflects the Kashmir Shaivism and Tantric Shaivism, Shiv Shakti, and many dimensions. And what the role of Lakshman Ji, the last Acharya of Abhinav Gupta in Kashmir, and on Ganju Sahib, इनका क्या? What was their role in his life? थोड़ा सा kindly put some light over it.
see, he was a painter, writer, but he was not a scholar. Let me put it that way. So he had to consult the scholars, because what he was thinking, the way he was perceiving things. So
Okay.
he used to feel, maybe I'm wrong, I'm too going too fast or too ahead. So then he used to consult Ganju Sahib. Am I right? Am I on the right path? So he said, yes, you are on the right path. In fact, you are going too fast. So he used to have guidance from Ganju Sahib and T and Call.
Oh,
in Sebi. So then under them he started this, knowing about more about uh, Hari Parbat, the Sri Yantra, and then started studying Tantra, art imagery, philosophy with them, and then created his own, cosmic, uh, you can, expression.
cosmic
So
expression, what he thought of cosmos. Yeah.
yes, because it's basically the Shiv Shakti. It's a cosmic. You can say it's a cosmic knowledge. Basically the the evolution of the earth and how it all began. You see, and that that spandan, that the sound which the earth is creating when it moves.
Mm.
So it's all there. So he used to talk a lot about these things with Ganju Saab, and going into deep into mystery of it. That's how they helped him, and they actually defined his knowledge about Kashmir Shaivism, and about even Sri Yantra for that matter.
He, he and
And
I mean,
and
he he
uh,
he probably whatever he encountered and whatever he visualized and whatever what you call insights it came into his in thought process and understanding through his brain and mind and heart, they had to be correlated with some references and relevances of the literature. So Gonju Saab might have played a very vital role in that, and Lakshmanju too, because he was himself a spiritual and he was also a Gyani, knowledgeable about Kashmir Shaivism. He was a master of Kashmir Shaivism. But I think one more thing I would like to ask before we'll go here and there and crisscross around. I want to talk about one of the beautiful traits of Santosh ji, that I heard, that such a great personality who became so famous. I mean, he was a wonderful human being, a very loving and affectionate human being. It is said that whatever he had with him, if somebody needed, he used to give it. सब कुछ दे देते थे.
yes,
It has happened in once in a Amarnath cave. He gave his everything, his clothes and everything to him. And also there is a he had a great circle of friends which were the great eminent personalities of his time. They were his contemporaries, and certainly he was a very humble guy. He never exhibited. But included Vedrahi also, and then you were talking about these people: Ramanand Sagar, Vedrahi, and Balraj Sahani, and many other people, Thakur Punchi. All
Thakur
these
Punchi.
guys were there. They were asking him to come, and then they had asked him to come to Bombay, but he chose to Delhi. And he was. It is said that right at Chankaral Mahala also, Sundays were full with the friends. Like in Delhi also, people whosoever you met him onto the railway station, anywhere Kashmiri, used to bring him home for the meals. He was so warm to attend to the friends and to the visitors all the time, and he was giving. Even he had probably, I heard that he had given this book covers, design book covers, free for his friends, for many authors. Please
Yes,
elucidate.
yes. No, actually, eh, I know he was a very humble and simple man, and his attire basically, he has, I think, after early 60s, he has worn the Farron all the time.
Oh,
He was just wearing his Farron, and his appearance was like that. Anybody could recognize who he is. So, so, and and he had a lot of friends. He had good relations with everybody. In all his contemporary writers and painters, even in Delhi, in Kashmir, they were all his good friends. He was a very good friend to everyone, very compassionate, very helpful. He has helped many people. I have met so many people now that they have told me so many things. I'll tell you an incident. I think it is before COVID, 4 or 5 years back. I went to this Regal Chalk to buy a television, because I had just shifted from downtown to, I bought a flat in Rawalpura, so I had shifted there. So we didn't have a TV. I just went to buy a television. So there was a, this sharp television shop there. So I went there and we bought a television. So that person, when he was making the bill, he asked me, Haji, naam kya likhna? So I told him Shabir Hussain Santosh. He wrote my name and then he stopped and looked at me. He said, Shabir Hussain Santosh, what is this Santosh here? So I said, uh, it is like, yeah, hamari pehchan hai. So we are known by that name. So he said, what was your father's name? So I said, Gulam Rasul Santosh. He looked at me and got up. And he said, Pehle gale milo mere se. So I just hugged him. He said, you don't know how much respect I have for your father and what he has done for me. This shop is because of him. So I have heard him, seen him just 3 4 times, but he has helped me indirectly, and I just want to hug you. And he called his sons. They were sitting in the next room, and he called them and introduced them to me and said, "Now I'm giving you this much of discount because you are his son." So there's so many incidents like that. I've met so many people. He has helped them, and as a friend, he was outstanding. He was. And our home in Delhi used to be known as Kashmir Guest House because everybody used to come. They used to love to, our family, and they used to stay with us. We used to be
Warm
very
host.
happy. Yes, and like we were born here. I was born here. My So we were settled here. So we used to get one, month to visit Kashmir when we had holidays. So all 11 months we used to be here in Delhi. So whenever somebody used to come from Kashmir, used to be, happy that chalo, somebody is from Kashmir. Now maza aayega. So he was very welcoming, very
And
welcoming. And
who
he
were the
had great friends.
prominent visitors? कौन थे? Who were the prominent visitors who used to come?
I mean, there was, you know, Pushkar Nath ji aaye hain. Somnath Sadhu was there.
Amnath Sadhu,
Then
Pushkar.
Zaman Azurdaj and Nusrat Andrabi and Amin Andrabi, they were like a
Yes.
family. They were like a family to us. And and we used to visit their house, and Ali Muhammad Lone and Akhtar
Imam Lon,
Mahideen,
Akhtar
all
Mohideen.
people, and we used to stay with Ali Muhammad Lone in his house in Srinagar for 5 6 days. So I mean, and then Noor Shah, Farooq
Mohan
Naski,
Kashmiri, Mohan Kashmiri,
everybody,
Mohan
all
Kashmiri,
Kashmiris.
Mohan
Yes,
Kashmiri, Mohan,
Bon,
Mohan
Hanji,
Kaul, Mohan Kaul, Mohan
Mohan
Kaul.
Kaul, Mohan Kaul, yes, he was settled in Bombay, and
Okay.
whenever he used to come to Delhi, he would come stay with us, and we were staying with them when we used to go to Bombay. And in Bombay, he had a lot of friends because Ved Rahi had shifted to Bombay because he had
Abhishek.
joined the films. He was writing films. And they wanted him also to shift to Bombay because Bombay was the center of art in the
Yeah,
beginning, and there
those
was
times.
and films also there. He was a writer. Then Thakur Punchi, you know, and my mother, she's from the Chopra clan of Kashmir, and
Yeah,
and
tell me about it. I have heard that your father, your Santosh, has come from your mother's name because
yeah, this my
Santosh also means peace. Santosh means satisfaction, taskin. But
yeah, because my father was looking for a takhallus जिसको बोलते हैं कि क्या
takallus.
क्या लिखूं मैं गुलाम रसूल. He was Gulam Rasul Dar, so he wanted to keep something. So he kept his wife's name Santosh because it suited him, his personality. So he kept Santosh because my mother is known as Santosh Chopra.
They are
So she
Chopras.
is,
Chopras are from
yes,
Ramanand Sagar's
yes,
family. They are
she's from
Vinod
that
Chopra.
family.
Okay.
They are cousins. Raman Sagar was my mother's mama in a way.
Acha, mama.
So they
Cousin.
also wanted him to come and stay in Bombay. So you will make a good fortune here because you are a painter and writer both. So initially he went there for some time, but then you know because it was too commercial that place, and everybody was talking about money, and you know and then he thought that you know the quality does not matter here. Being a painter, it's okay. You know, uh, for painter it's okay, but for a writer just to make money and write anything, so he couldn't do that. So he said, no, I will not stay
He was
here.
an elevated personality and a yogic and simpleton at the heart.
He
So,
said, no, I'm not
vibrations.
after this.
It's a matter of vibrations
So
also.
yes, he shifted back to Delhi. He said, no, I will not stay here. So he came
Your
back.
mother
Otherwise,
must have been a great lady because normally I remember once Khushwant Singh. There was an article by Jai Shri and that Balwant Gargi. They are written somewhere. They were old friends of Kushwant Singh. They told Kushwant Singh that we are going to meet you, and he told them be before 9. Before I take at 9 exactly, I close everything. They thought that is a friend. Yeah, what will he do? वो शाम को आए अपना literary background के बाद वहाँ पहुँचे. When they reached there, they knocked. The lady came. He said no. He is now he can't meet now. So they say that we are in the middle of the night. Where would we go? But I mean, other way around. Your father was so generous, and probably it cannot happen without the cooperation of the lady of the house and your mother.
No,
There must
my
have been
mother
great.
was. Oh
Yeah.
yes, she was equally, very like warm and great people, and basically the whole family used to be very happy when somebody used to come from Kashmir, like
Okay.
because we were always, missing Kashmir all the time. So when somebody used to come, used to feel Kashmir has come to us now that way. So and it's like, those times have changed, because
Times have
at that
changed.
time, in Kashmir, even in Delhi, the artist fraternity was like a family, and in Kashmir also, all these writers, they were like a family, and they were all great writers, you see, great thinkers. They were not only writers, they were thinkers, they and I'm lucky that I have seen that period. You see, I have
Ah,
seen that
I've
period. And
seen that period, and they were the originals. They were the originals, pure
yes,
thoughts,
I have,
true
and with
peddlers.
my father, I have traveled with my father. Pran Kishore ji was in radio that time, uh, and then he was helping Cultural Academy with many things, because he started this concept of camps in India. See, have
They
artist
started
camps.
by
So he
okay.
was coordinating for this Cultural Academy Srinagar with other artists and getting them all to Kashmir, and that's why we have such a big collection the academy has, and and then Kashmiri artists came to be known by this, because all the big artists were traveling to, even Hussain Saab has come there. So many big artists have come there, and with them I used to be with them, with my father traveling, and I have seen Usmarg when nobody has seen it.
Usman.
There were no roads there, Kachi sadke thi. I was traveled to so many places with him, because he used to take me along, and everybody has, you know, Thakur Munshi and Pran Kishore, all these people, they have brought me up. I was very lucky that way.
He was a very widely traveled because his gallery of art went his presentation of exhibitions
Yes,
went
yes, he has
across.
traveled to Europe not in America, but Europe. He has traveled extensively, and when this, Air India started its international flights in 1974, they started their European flight to Europe. So they had invited all, you can say, VIPs from different faculties, and my father was one of them. He was invited for the, inaugural flight. It was free, So he traveled to Europe that time with Air India. It was almost for 10, 15 days. So I think, so from there, he has traveled a lot. He has traveled a lot, and he has exhibited all over the world. His works are spread all over the world, many galleries and museums. And in 60s, there was a buyer, American buyer, who had, used to buy a lot of Indian art. So the cream of Indian art has, gone to US in the 60s. He was a buyer at that time. So his works are all over, So it's and,
It is. I mean, he is excellent in his art. He is the pioneer of the international personality of neo art tantra, and nobody can beat him. He is the pioneer in that subject. But
so
one
many
thing is,
people, so
yeah,
many people came into this group, of Tantra pain, Neo Tantra. I would say some of them got a lease of
Raza
life,
also,
because
Raza
Raza, you
also
see,
learned.
Raza was in Paris. He was in Paris, and in West they had been through everything, all the isms,
Saturation had come already. Saturation had come.
there was a saturation point, and even
You can't
Raza
tell
was
them their
also.
art again. It won't sell.
So they came back to India, and here my father had already started something which was very Indian, if you say, and they found a lease of life. They said, let's try something this. So he gave them a, way,
Okay.
and that's why
He was
they are
he
into
became
that.
a catalyst, and their whole life was rejuvenated.
Yes,
They
yes,
started doing this work. Yeah.
yes, of course, yes, that's true. That's true. And but over here, like I told you, they were not practicing, uh, you know, because when you are
They
doing
were not
something,
meditative. They were not
no,
spiritual.
because when you are painting something spiritual, then you have to be spiritual yourself first.
And
Otherwise, you cannot.
he also changed this concept of which had narrowed Western concept of tantra, which was about Purush Prakriti, Purush male and female, and then the sexuality and other things. He changed it to the more esoteric, the real essence of what is Shiv Shakti Parampara. He presented that thing torso for the matter torso. His painting of
Mhm,
torso. It was a
mhm.
concept of Ardhanarishwara, and he
Ardhanashri,
wanted
yes,
it is
yes, yes.
genderless. Going to
Because
meditation,
see,
you lose the
everybody
gender.
has. We are, we are all, we are 50% male, 50% female.
Female, yeah, that is.
So,
And then
so
then again, when you meditate to a certain extent, you lose your physical, sexual, and identity. You lose that.
yes, yes.
You become something beyond.
See,
Ardhanashwar,
you become one with nature. You see,
one with nature.
you become part of nature.
It doesn't. It's not gender. We make it the gender.
No,
Falana,
no.
this is the female. This is the
But
male.
let me tell you, in the West, there were some painters because initially there were a lot of painters in India who were doing very well. They were doing
Yeah, there
figurative
were
painting.
Kumar
In
there.
the West, uh, there was like in India, this movement has started, this Tantra movement. Similarly, in the West, there was a movement where this kinetic painting had started.
Yeah, at that at
And
earlier
and let me tell you, Paul Klee, a famous painter like Paul Klee, was influenced by this concept.
Neo-Tantra.
This you can say, Tantra. He was influenced by Tantra. There were many other painters who were influenced, but you see, nobody has written that because maybe it is.
There is
I don't want to.
that kind of a political complexions and many other complexes and
So,
superiority sense of.
and in 80s, late 80s, when this Festival of India started, they started taking Indian art and these culture, this everything. It was a traveling thing. This Festival of India. Then, उसमें भी there were two, like there was one contemporary art which was where Hussain Saab, everybody was who were doing figurative and landscaping, and there was
Figurative.
another part which was Tantra, and Tantra artists became more popular there. It was something new which
There
they had
was
not seen.
it was already abstraction there. They were I mean fed up with this abstraction and other things
Because
and
it is a symbolic abstraction.
symbolic abstraction.
It is symbolism and abstraction both. So they had not
Geometry,
seen this kind of work.
geometry had come. There are colors and there is spirituality, vibrations, as you said. There
Yes,
are many
yes,
dimensions to it because it's based on the spiritual practice first of all. That is
yes,
the
yes.
whole thing.
You see,
And
when it is like, there comes a point when I'm also a painter. When you start painting, when you initially start, so you become little conscious of it. But gradually, the painting starts guiding you. It is like, the person soul enters the canvas. So this is how it works. When you are meditating, you are doing this. So the it's not a canvas anymore. So you see, you are creating something, a mystery. It becomes a mystery, or a mystic experience ultimately.
ultimately it's towards that center. It is all a journey, and Santoshi has proved it through his paintings that this is a journey. This is not a destination. This is a journey, and it has its levels of consciousness through which we travel. Sir, Shabirji, I would like to ask, he was a very prolific painter. He has painted everything from miniature to the landscape to the abstractism to the cubism and finally the tantra painting. And tantra, there are many depths and many varied paintings of him, and they are one of the most masterpieces of the world paints. Uh, are these paints preserved, especially in the, are these paints presented, preserved, and the paintings which are not sold, which are not on the display, are they with you? What are you doing with these paintings? How are you developing and documenting these things with yourself? Because this is a precious treasure, treasure of our nation, treasure of our state, and treasure of Santosh ji with all of us. And you are the real, the inheritor of this treasure.
Actually, I'll tell you. See, my father was not. He was a painter. From the very beginning, he was a professional painter. He was surviving on paintings,
Yeah.
and he had his immediate family. Then he had his, you know, uh, family in Kashmir, which he was supporting, and he was purely, uh, sustaining himself on painting. So he has sold a lot of works when he was alive because, uh, like you say, ghar chalna chahiye. He had to sell because there was no other way. He was not teaching. He was not teaching someone doing any job. So many, but he had a habit of keeping at least one or two works from every period, which
Oh,
are with me. But few have been sold because you know, it is very. You have to preserve these things. It's very difficult to. We have to look. I have to every 3 months. I take them out. I clean them and put them in the sun. So there's a little bit of heat goes there, and then I pack them again. So few we have sold, and lot of he has sold himself because there was no other way. But I have some with me. Some works, they are still with me, and I'm documenting all of them because I shoot them and document them. And we had a retrospective of his works in 2012 with Delhi Art Gallery, and they took out a big coffee table book, which
oh,
is about 250 pages and very elaborate. So, and the galleries have collected a lot of works through the auctions, and because he was a prolific painter, he has painted so much. All these painters of those times, they have painted a lot because they were surviving on painting.
okay.
So, and there were very few painters who were from very high families, rich family. Otherwise everybody was struggling at that time. They had to sell, otherwise it would have been very difficult. So
It was
we managed. I managed to have some. I have some works of his from all
it was
periods.
That's
So
great.
it is a
You must be preserving that. You
it's a
must be doing.
legacy. I have to keep. I have to keep this legacy.
Yeah, this is the legacy, and this is also the wealth of the nation. It belongs to us
Yes.
all.
And
And
National Gallery, let me tell you, they have about 35 works of his in Delhi.
I heard that your family, like your father, they were all simpleton people. There was one incident that occurred when this great personality got Padamshri. Nobody was knowing in our family, and suddenly one fine morning, Ved Marwaji, in his police personality, he came and he knocked at your door, and you got scared. Tell us about this incident. It's in a lighter way.
I think it was 1977, and he had been conferred Padmashri, and we didn't know. And he was in Kashmir at that time. He was
Okay.
not in Delhi, and we were staying in Jangpur Extension. So I think it was afternoon time, and there was a knock on the door, and I could see police van down and police coming up the stairs. I was a little afraid. Police, क्यों आए? Something wrong. So I called my mother. Police is there, So she was also a little scared, and we opened the door. It was Ved Marwaji. He had got a police medal that year,
Yeah,
and he
IPS.
had come to break that news to us. So he said, "भाभी जी आप घबराओ मत, बिठाओ चाय वाय पिलाओ मिठाई खिलाओ कोई घबराने वाली बात नहीं." Then he sat in the drawing room, and then he told my mother that your husband has got a Padma Shri, and we have come to ask him if he accepts this or not. So he was not there, and that time we had no mobile phones, so I had to go to the neighbor's house and call my father and book a trunk call and call him. So there in Srinagar, he went to the neighbor's house to receive the call, and then I told him that this is this. He said, "Yes, I
Right.
accept." Then he gave his acceptance, and then he was conferred Padma Shri. So we were a little scared कि police क्यों आई है? So
you are yourself a, I mean, very professional artist, and your art sells very well. And you are an ardent photographer as well, and a faculty person also. And you had gone to the School of Art, Delhi. Tell me something about, briefly, because now we are running short of time. Tell me about, where did you actually learn your art, and how does it feel to be son of such a great, colossal, brilliant, legendary personality? Does it suffocate you? Does it make it somewhere you feel like that your identity is submerged into him, or does it please you?
it's all, it's both ways, because I went to College of Art because my father told me, like, uh, I had got, I when I passed out my 12th class, so I got, the geography honors in Hansraj College. So
Okay.
I told him I'll go and do this geography honors, and I was very good at sports. So my father told me, "तुम geography पढ़ के क्या करोगे? What will you do?" So I don't know, but I've got it.
Great
I'll do
artist.
something. But my interest was to play, in the university. So he said, "No, it is waste of time. You are good at art. Do this." So I said, "ठीक, I will try." So then he started teaching me, because there's an entrance when you enter art college. So you have to go through, there's they have a syllabus and you have to go through that. So he trained me into that. So I was practicing every day. Finally, I managed to get into art college and I left that geography honors. And then he told me one day that now you have joined art college, whenever you travel to Kashmir, you keep your eyes open. See now, because I used to go there, I used to enjoy, but he said now you keep your eyes open, you observe
Observe
nature. Yes,
nature, architecture, everything.
I did my graduation, and there were some teachers who were very good, and like Pramnath Mago, he used to teach us composition, and he was a very good teacher, and I remember whatever he's taught us, and I still remember that. And then you can say I have done two BFAs. I did one BFA in college, and second one I was doing at home. My father used to, grill
You
me.
Naturally, he
So
was such a great legend and such a nice personality. He always wanted you to make you. He must have been trying to make you understand this
yeah,
whole.
because he said this is it's a very difficult profession, and you have to be the best. And then he being such a colossal figure, it
Personality.
does not suffocate me, but it's a challenge to me. People start comparing me.
It happens. It happens
So I
to
have
them.
to reach some level, before it's too late. So it is
That's
sometimes very difficult. It's
that's
very
great.
difficult.
Do you, can you show us some, because his landscapes I have seen? I mean, his all paintings are wonderful. Can you show us some landscape paint or a portrait, just for the viewership, just for the
Yeah,
viewership?
I will. Yes, I have some
If
landscapes
you
here,
have
which
Dinanath
is,
Adams, that would be very nice. If not, that doesn't matter. Any portrait or any sketch.
see now, you see this.
This is abstract landscape,
Yes, this is in Cubist style.
cubic style. Yeah,
Yeah,
beautiful. My goodness, color combination, soothing. It elevates.
and
You are sensitive.
then there's one more.
This you're seeing. Other one, left side, right side. With the,
Yeah,
yeah.
this one.
Oh my goodness, beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is some. Yeah,
these are all backwaters of the Dal.
it's a backwaters of the Dal. There is a mountain and the cloud there, and there's radishness in the cloud. Even
Because
we
they
have
used to,
visualized these things, but we could never see that in the paintings.
because there was a Muar Canal there, which has been now,
Yeah, we
you
all
know,
had even Sheetalnath. We lived in Sheetalnath. We had the
yes,
backwaters.
and
It was
it's all
everywhere in
gone now,
paintings.
and it's very sad. And and uh, yeah, there is this, you know,
Oh my goodness! This is boat. These are
these are
houseboats. And
this is when it's snowing, it's snow time in Kashmir.
oh, beautiful.
These are the, shikaras.
Yeah. There's also cubic
This is all, yes, cubistic style, in
style here, but wonderful. The color, the trans, it transcends you, transports you to a different flight and different level. Wonderful. Do you have any portrait as well? If
Mm,
you have, then it's okay. Otherwise, we'll forward because we're ending for the session now.
portrait. I have to. I have another book. If
Doesn't matter.
you
Doesn't
can,
matter.
if you can
Please.
excuse me for a second, you know.
Okay.
See, yeah, Nadim
Arey,
Saab's portrait.
अरे नादिम साहब, my goodness, do it in a full screen. अरे beautiful. थोड़ा ऊपर करिए, ऊपर up up yeah, और थोड़ा ऊपर. अरे wow. This is what style. It's a
This
beautiful.
is this is impasto style. It is a thick paint, you know, thick layer of paint on the canvas.
अरे my goodness, wonderful sir, wonderful Shabir ji, it was great. बहुत मजा आ गया आज सबको. Everybody must have enjoyed. But before I go, I'd like to say that it will be limiting a personality like Shabir Saab. A personality like Shabir Saab he's a wondrous polymath. People like him are born once in a century. Very rare personality. I mean, if we see that his attention, his all inquisitive search was for the roots of Kashmir, ancient civilization of which we all were the part, which is the Vedic civilization. And I have always seen that his personality, somewhere down the line, is a giving personality, always a nourishing personality. But if we see other parts of Santosh Saab, we'll find that he was equally a prolific writer. His writings and his lyrics, they are the masterpieces in their own style and structure. And then we have the you have the he was also a costume designer. He created costume designing for that opera of Dinanath Nadim Vitasta.
Vitasta,
He
yes, and
was into this. He was a Renaissance man. He was a Renaissance man
yes,
who wanted
he
his
did.
voice.
He wrote all the songs of Moinzarat film.
Moinzrat film,
um,
yes. Title
yes,
song is
first Kashmiri feature film, you see, and which had Pushkar Bhan and Somnath Sadhu starring in it,
what are you
and
to say about
Mohanlal
his yeah.
and
Somnath Sadhu and Omkar
Omkar
Rama
Rama
was
was the
hero.
leads. You know, yes.
He was my father's class fellow, close friend.
So he has done many, radio plays, especially Butt the Bulldozer, which became very
Yeah,
famous.
that is a great news to me because the Bhutta Bulldozer people came here in the university. We helped them out, and I had reviewed this whole festival once in 80s because I used to review theater and all. So I have written about Bhutta Bulldozer, and I'm wondered that this has been contribution of a personality like Santosh. My goodness, what a
He has done
personality!
many radio plays, many because Lone Saab, Ali Muhammad Lone, and he was also writing, radio plays.
Ran Kishore
Wonderful,
also.
wonderful. So at that time, it was pure literature and everything was very pure. Now it is slowly, it is,
So now it is peddling. It's all peddling
it's,
here and there,
it's
mixed करके all
diluting, and we
gradually,
have
gradually.
now we have a new breed of writers which are coming up, and a writer I forgot to mention, Meme Hai Zafar. He was the person who had initially translated few of my father's poetry, and he understood what he was doing. He understands what's Kashmir Shaivism and what he was doing. So there were many people who understood, but they had their own path. Like so,
Ram Kishore ji also wrote about him, and Shantivir ji also wrote about him. And
yes. And Dinanath Nadim was very close to him. He was like a father figure to him. He used to
so
consider him
that's
as a guru in writing.
it's so wonderful. We had this enchanting experience of Shabir Saab. We are finding you as a Santosh, as if Santosh is Santosh ji, Gulam Santosh is in the studio. It gives us a great delight. It was very enchanting. We can go on and on, but we have the constraints of the program. But
Yes,
before
yes.
we go, I would like to. You will say something. You will have to say something more, Shabir ji. Anything more you want to share?
Nothing. I just want to say one thing that we should start working on this Sri Yantra thing. It's a very, very deep thing. We have just left it as it
People
is,
from Israel are doing it. People from all over the world are coming it, and
and when
we have
if we
forgotten
have
it.
this knowledge, so we should explore it more, because
We have
it
support
can.
system, we have everything now, and people are affluent now. It's not that earlier time, Santoji's time, people didn't have money. Now everyone is moneyed. If
Yes,
somebody
yes.
has a respect for the roots and the culture and the civilization, they can definitely do. I do agree with it. This is a great feeling, which also, I mean,
Because
vibrates in my heart.
this is also a legacy, and it is thousands of years old, and it is
It's
the basic structure of our land, Kashmir.
Yashomati, the first queen, was she was around 5,000, 6,000 years ago. I mean, we don't know. Even before that, there are excavations yet to be found. As this Santosh Saab used to tell that our civilization is much ahead of these Mohenjo-daro and
Oh,
Harappa,
yes, yes,
or Burzahoma. They are the later excavations. So the search
yes.
and quest will go on and on. This was a wonderful talking to you. But before we go, I would like to share one of the lyrical marvel of Santosh ji, which has been sung by Sophie Saab. So let's play it.
जी, जी.
Go So that was so wonderful lyrical refreshment and nourishment from your father. We're really delighted and honored that you visited us at
No,
Sheetal.
pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you a lot. It was pleasure, and it will go to the archives, and people all over the globe will watch it. This is one of the dearest subject, and we all love Santosh Sahab. Thank you very much that you came. We'll be
Thank you
having
so
another
much.
conversation
Thank you so
someday
much.
in the future. Thanks a
Yes, yes,
lot.
definitely.
Good luck and good
Definitely.
health. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you. Namaskar. Adab.
So that was Shabir Santosh, great son of Padamshri Gulam Rasul Santosh, the legendary personality, the main pyre, the exponent, the pioneer of Tantra, Neo Tantra paintings and art, a personality of world stature, but yet a yogi, a Shavist, a simpleton, personality, a native of Kashmir. We are so proud of him. May Master always grace his soul with composure. But we know these souls are already blessed. Thank you very much. I hope you loved and enjoyed this enchanting discourse today with Shabir ji. And you can write to me on my message box. Thank you very much. Next Sunday we'll have another wonderful lecture. Till then, goodbye and namaskar. Urzu.